All right, everybody, we'll get started. And we'll start with Ben. Go ahead, but and then we'll go to Trey after that.
Tony, just runners left on base. What kind of did you see that led to that? And do you feel like your team did a good job of moving on from this weekend in preparation of tonight's game?
Yeah, I think what I saw, right or wrong, was guys tensing up in those situations. It was evident that after an odd first couple innings that there was a little bit of locking up in the dugout as well. Just the environment was that of trying not to lose a game or having fear of losing a game that is on your field. Maybe you feel like you should win. And it bled into some of those at-bats carrying a lot of tension is the easiest way to say it. And then it's more than a fair question, and you'd have to be a dummy to not see it coming from a mile away. So I think you hit the nail on the head as far as what question you should ask doing your job. Basically, is there a hangover from A&M? And again, I've thought about it. That I've seen that. I'm not that old, but I've seen what that looks like. That's not what happened tonight. So, and I'm not patting myself on the back. Monday's an off day. We don't have practice. We certainly had a pregame out here, and I thought our guys swung it really well. Other than maybe one or two things in and out, it was what it needed to be. I think the start of the game is where you need to look as far as our guys not having a good mindset and where they needed to start doing a better job. But I don't think Sunday had anything to do with this.
Trey.
Hey, Tony, when you look at tonight and the pitching that Lipscomb was bringing, did you feel like your hitters were chasing bad pitches tonight? What did you think about them at the plate?
Yeah, no question. I think, the zone was fairly liberal, and, that doesn't mean you have to expand your zone unless you have two strikes. And I thought there were several occasions that you obviously saw as well where a guy on a 3-1 count, that count seemed to be the magic one, goes well out of the zone for whatever reason, and now all of a sudden it's different and the guy has an opportunity to do something. So, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And again, I think that falls under the same umbrella of trying to do too much or really pressing when all of a sudden you get hit in the face and it's 4-1 when you look up at the scoreboard.
We'll go to Wes next, then Gustavo.
Yeah, Tony, I know that Lipscomb, I think, walked 7 guys tonight, but it seemed like not just with Eva, but with a lot of guys, they were, even 3-1 throwing breaking balls that, they were almost willing to get away with some walks there to not throw any meatballs to really give up a big hit. Did that just sort of pay off for Lipscomb tonight?
Oh, maybe. I think more than anything, their energy, and they came in to play good ball, and they fed off some of the things they did well early in the game. And then after that, I have seen that before. The fire gets stoked, and they see a possibility of doing something good here, which is winning an away game against an SEC club. And I think their approach to pitching was to try and get guys out as much as possible. They certainly walked a few guys. Our pitchers know this as well as anyone. The more strikes you throw, the more you're going to get hit. So we did out hit them, and they did walk more guys than we did. But the bottom line is they strung that one inning together where we hit a guy. We didn't make a play on the infield that I felt like we could have. We didn't throw to the right base. And then we didn't kind of expand the zone in a 1-2 count and allowed a scrappy hitter to put the ball through the middle of the field. So the bottom line is, we might have played better fundamental in certain situations, but when we did not play fundamental baseball, they made us pay. And then in certain hitting situations, when we had a chance to just kind of choke up on the bat and put the ball in play, or if the pitcher's not throwing strikes, just take your base. We went outside of ourselves and did not do that.
Coach, what did you see from your team today that maybe you learned that you can see from things you can fix for especially the upcoming series versus Kentucky in such a short notice? I mean, you guys particularly play 7 games in 1 week, 7 games in 7 days. Like, what you can learn from this game moving forward?
That fundamental baseball will win games. If you go to the right spots on the field, you throw to the right base, you keep the ball in front when you're supposed to. Be locked in to make plays that you can make defensively. And then offensively, you kind of stick with what we consider as a competitive at bat, or really anybody would. And then you throw strikes and throw the ball with conviction. Those are all things. I didn't say anything in there that, you got to be Fernando Tatis to do, or, Max Scherzer. So if you do those things, the percentages will tilt in your favor. It doesn't guarantee you victory. I mean, we certainly didn't win tonight, but, that's something. And the other thing is, fear. Like they say in Jerry Maguire, bees can smell fear. And you could smell it in the stadium tonight. There was too much of it coming out of our dugout and permeating from some of our guys in certain situations. And unfortunately, it caught up to us. So.
All right, Ben, and then Wes.
Tony, I wanted to ask you about the pitching. I know you threw a lot of guys today because it's a midweek game, but just kind of the difference between Rackers and Pleasance and then McLaughlin and Sewell on the mound. And with Mark throwing as many pitches as he did, does that take him out of this weekend series since it is the Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week?
No, I think it doesn't make him available for Thursday, but then it'll be a conversation to see where he's at. And Cam seems to be a guy, the more we use him and the more comfortable he gets on the mound, better off he is. So we'll see how he is Thursday, but I would think Friday at the latest for him, Saturday at the latest for Mark. And then, it's upsetting to me that I didn't get Will Mabry in the game against Texas A&M. They had a couple big lefties that we had him kind of matched up with in our conversations, and the situation just never came up, and I never pulled the trigger one time. So I'm looking forward to him getting some action this weekend. Rackers would have to speak for himself. I haven't spoken with him, but he didn't throw the ball like he was convinced that he's 100% recovered from, his surgery and his rehab and things like that. That was my vantage point. Maybe that's overly critical. And then Elijah, at the very least, was letting the ball go. I mean, starting to see the velocity that he should throw with. Just had a chance to make a couple pitches in certain situations that would have bailed us out. It's a lot easier said than done. But that's what would have been needed in that situation when we call him out of the bullpen quickly.
Tony, I know that you've probably seen enough of these guys now to know sort of how they'll respond, or I guess have an idea maybe how they'll respond in certain situations. They seem to, from the outside looking in, they seem to have been pretty good. When they kind of get knocked back a little bit, they do seem to bounce back. Do you expect that to happen again?
They better, or they'll get knocked right back down on their butts, which is where they're at right now. You're right in saying there's a theme there with the guys, but it's an everyday challenge to do this thing. I mean, I used to know of a sign that said Omaha, earn it every day. And, that means you have to pay the toll every day. And again, going back to my theme, I think our guys celebrated Sunday's victory a bunch. By the time they got here, they were tired, and then they were, back at it yesterday, doing the things they needed to do to be prepared for today. And then today's pregame was good. But when the game started, we made too many mistakes. And to me, a lot of them came from not having that kind of earn it mentality. And they're going to need to do that tomorrow in practice in order to be prepared for Thursday. And then again, SEC play, if you don't come with something, you're going to get knocked on your butt. But yeah, I think, it'd be comforting to see the same thing we've seen all year for the guys to bounce back and have a little bit of edge to them.
Trey and Ben.
Hey, Tony, I'm interested in the Thursday game and the series. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time you'll play a series this weekend starting on Thursday. Does that kind of change anything up, especially when it comes from pitching from this past weekend tonight and any kind of rotation for the next 3 days?
Sometimes it does. I mean, that was when Garrett Crochet kind of became a starter for us a couple of years ago. He had been in the pen, and then we bumped him up to Thursday and kept Stallings on Friday. So there's an opportunity to kind of flip some things around if need be. But our three guys have been incredibly reliable. They're all team leaders, even though Blade's a freshman. I feel comfortable in saying that. So we'll stick with the same rotation. We expect kind of the same thing, no more, no less than what those guys have been giving us. What it really does for the group is it removes an extra day of practice. So instead of tomorrow being kind of a regroup, go over some things and lift and maybe knock out a fundamental or two, and then Thursday kind of having your lighter prep for Friday, you'll kind of have to mush the two together while at the same time you don't want to kill the guys because it's been a handful the last 4 days, what we've done.
Tony, I know the last couple of days have been a whirlwind, so I imagine you haven't been able to watch much Kentucky, but just watching from afar this season, what has kind of been your take on them and what's key for y'all this weekend?
Yeah, that's the other thing. You lose an extra day of scouting, and other than the guys who we're familiar with in their lineup, there's still some preparation to be done there. But the one thing is they got a kid from St. Louis, my hometown, in their lineup that's incredibly dangerous and a real force at the plate, and a great kid. Kessler's his name, and he's a star in the league. And then TJ Collette, he's been there forever. Was one of the top recruits in the country, I remember, when he was in high school. But it's been till now this year that he's been able to be healthy. So there's a couple other guys too that are familiar faces from when we last played them. There's been some time, but there's some really good position players in there. And then, their pitchers obviously were huge for them on Sunday in that doubleheader sweep of Alabama, because not the day before, but the game before, they'd given up a lot of runs. And then next thing you know, they only used 3 pitchers and they absolutely slammed the door on a good Alabama offense.
Last question, Wes.
Yeah, Tony, obviously not the result you wanted tonight, but what you saw out of Mark there on the mound, I know that there'll be times perhaps later in the year where y'all need that kind of fourth starter, that just kind of the way the schedule works. Is he a guy who's worked himself into that conversation a little bit?
Yeah, I think, and we've given him that opportunity on Tuesdays too. There's going to be an odd situation that'll pop up before the end of the year, kind of like we had it where Heflin stepped in, rain, or you get bumped up, or if we're fortunate enough to be in the postseason and have a situation, there's going to be a time where we need somebody to start that hasn't started. And he's certainly a great candidate for that, because when he's in the zone, he's one of our best guys. The issue that he needs to tackle is recognizing that stuff. I tried to have a conversation with him on the mound one time when we were taking him out. I think he thought I was crazy, but I was just trying to earmark that moment of when he's in the zone, he's as good as anybody, that we have on our club, to be honest with you. And so he's capable of fulfilling any role as long as he attacks hitters.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, if I see any of you guys at a restaurant, I owe you a meal, because either Sean told you not to ask or you're looking out for me not getting fined. So I'll make sure that money goes to you guys if I bump into you.
All right, we'll have Pete.